Foremost, again, thank you for agreeing to join this interview. So, I will be asking you 10 questions, and basically, all you have to do is just answer the questions based on your own experience. So, for our assignment, we actually have to interview parents of different family diversities. So, we chose dual working parents, which means you and your spouse are both working while you have children below the age of 6. So basically, the
Mm,
questions are just asking your experience, the challenges you have, and so on. So, first and
okay.
foremost, the first question I have is, how do you manage to balance your work responsibilities with your parenting duties?
How do I balance between my work responsibilities and my parenting?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Um, in my condition, since we are both working parents, me myself is a government servant, so I have to work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, while my spouse, my husband, have a quite not to say a luxury time, but they don't have a time. They don't really have a schedule work job. So that's one of the advantage that I have, since both of us have a flexibility in terms of the time management. So me myself as a working 8 to 5, 24/7, not to say 24/7, but difficult to get annual leave. So most of the parenting or things like getting to school or something like that, getting apa will be done by my husband, because of the flexibility of the time. So I can concentrate more on my work. I can concentrate more on my work, while after 5 p.m. I can concentrate more on my homework. Boleh macam tu, homework. Betul tak?
All right.
My
So
chores.
basically, alternate. It's alternate. So in the morning, it's your husband, and then towards the evening, it's you when it comes to parenting
Hmm.
duties. All right.
Yes, yes, something like that.
All
Mm.
right. Okay. Thank you. So the next question is, how do you make sure your child is well taken care of and gets enough attention from you while you're at work?
While at work, it's quite okay, because it's the child is less than 6 years old, right? So meaning
Mm.
that there are toddlers and also a baby. I have two children below 6 years old, which is one is 6 years old and the other one is 10 months baby. So what I do is that I will always make sure that my phone is with me all the time, so that if anything, a phone call or anything, news from the school or the nursery, I can pick them up. However, even though that I'm doing that, but sometimes there are times that my caregiver unable to contact me at at that moment of time, because of I'm busy, as my work as a dentist, so I have to treat the patients. So while treating the patients, so somehow I'm lacking of attention to my phone. S- but that's, I think, for the past of 6 years I don't really have that problem much. Only one or two times that I cannot be get by my caregivers at the time, but most of the time I'm able to seek for any help. Not to say seek for any help, but I can respond well to my caregivers attention,
All right.
while
So
at work.
okay, so basically you have your phone all the time with you just in case of emergencies. Speaking of
Mm.
emergencies, so usually when unexpected childcare issues, like for example, you said your caregiver sometimes cannot contact you, or maybe while you're busy working, they suddenly contact you for any emergencies at all. So how do you usually handle it? Do you maybe call your husband, or do you yourself go and handle the
Mm.
situation? in the moment?
Okay, usually, I will try to call my husband first to ask where he is at the moment. Okay, if I cannot go immediately to the nursery or to the school, to the preschool. But we also have a few helpers in the house, which is their aunties are staying with us somehow. So we also have somebody else to ask for the help if needed immediately. But as far as I concerned, at this moment of time, not yet being happen those emergencies that needed fully attention immediately. But I think I will do as it family husband first, and then their aunties, and then or I straight away apa tu I straight away stop my treatment at the clinic and straight away go to school. I think that's what I'm going to do if emergencies happen.
I see.
Mm.
All right. So, the next question is: you did mention you have two children below the age of six. One is a 6 year old, and another one is a 10-month-old baby. So, may I ask, what factors do you usually consider when choosing a childcare, when choosing a kindergarten or nursery, or
Uh,
any early childhood education options?
Sorry, Marsha, you have to repeat the questions because the line is unstable just now.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So, since you have two children below the age of six, what
Mm-hmm.
factors do you usually
Mm-hmm.
consider when choosing any early childhood options for your children? When choosing a kindergarten or choosing a nursery, what do you usually look for as a dual working parent?
I I lost in the middle. I have since I have a tak tak dengar in the middle tu. I
No,
have
that's
apa tu? I have kids below than 6. What factors do you consider?
when
Lepas tu lost dah.
choosing
And
early
choose.
childhood options, macam when choosing a kindergarten or choosing a nursery, what do you usually look for as a dual working parent since both you
Oh,
and your
you mean
husband are working?
uh, sorry, I just want to repeat the questions. What factors do I consider in choosing like a nursery school for them
Yes, yeah.
as both of us are working parents?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The first thing first is actually nearest to the home, nearest to the house, because that's where it's easy for us to get apa to send them to school, and at the same time to fetch them from the school, because I believe that near the house is much more better than near to the office, because somehow we if near to the office it will be quite difficult. You have to bring your kids to the office quite a lot of the time, rather than
Mm.
you can send my kids to home. So the first thing first is the jarak or the distance from home. And luckily, we are staying in the condo. So this condo has one nursery center which cater the babies and the toddlers until 4 years old. So basically that is our very very good advantage, since that we can just send the baby just at the same house that we live.
I
And
see.
also, the good thing is staying here in Permaisuri, in Cheras Permaisuri, we have lots of nursery or no preschool facilities for the children. We have from the basic of Montessori to the Islamic school. So we have plenty of them, like Brainy Bunch, Genius Aulat, SAIC, Little Caliph, name it, everything is here. So we can choose whatever we are. Maybe the syllabus is one of the things that we are looking for in the toddlers, but I think many to choose, so it depends on the availability sajalah, something like that.
Understandable. All right. So that's an advantage for you. There's many kindergartens
Mm.
and nurseries near your area, so it's easy for you and your husband to send and pick up. And if there's an
Yes,
emergency, it's also easier. All right.
yes, exactly.
So now moving on to the next one. In your opinion, as a dual working parent, what challenges have you faced? Like, what is the most challenging thing you've ever faced, and how did you overcome that challenge?
The most, the most challenges that I think me and my spouse get is that whenever the children is sick or they are not fit enough to go to school, somehow nowadays since the pandemic, since the COVID, so somehow some nurseries are, not to say banned, but they are mm, disallowed, salah kan,
They restrict
they not
the
they restrict
yeah
the children when they having like a fever, a small fever, not to say a small fever, a low grade fever, we call it the low grade fever,
mhm,
or just like a sneezing or
a
just
very
a running
mild
nose
fever,
sometimes. It's a
anything
very
mild.
yes, a very mild fever, very mild running nose. They restricted that from getting to school, but fortunately in my case they are quite lenient with that. So that's one thing very much difficult because we don't know where the kid is sick. So whenever me and my husband cannot take annual leave, or me especially cannot take annual leave because of the work tanggungjawab, work responsibilities.
Mhm.
At the same time, if my husband got meetings that really really important to attend, so there will be like quite difficult for us to handle it. So what we do is that we try to sacrifice morning or evening session of ourselves. Let's say my husband will be looking after in the morning and I will be looking after in the afternoon. That is one of the options. Second options will be I will ask their aunties whether or not they can work from home. Or the third one, we have one actually quite good, but not yet being started, where we have the Kido Care. There is one apps that
Yeah.
have can have apa part time
Babysitter.
caregiver. Yes, babysitter,
Yeah, yeah,
because
I've heard of it.
what I heard from my colleagues, there is one of my colleagues, one of my officers, the dentist, and their husband is the medical specialist. So they're having the same problem, and they both cannot tolerate because they both are a government servant. So they hire the kiddo care for, let's say, for 1 month, it costs about 2,000 plus ringgit lah.
I
But that's
see.
one of the options that I think can be done if you cannot
At the last, that's the like
leave your
the last
that's
resort.
the last resort. Yes,
I
yes.
see. All right. But I have
Mm-mm.
heard of Kido Care. A lot of good reviews, but
Very good reviews.
I
Yep.
I actually almost applied, but at the time I didn't have my license, so
I think yes, it's good. I think it's good because I tried to get one, but unfortunately you have to get 3 hours before. I mean the earliest book for three
so
hours.
that's
So
the
I want to book early in
disadvantage.
the morning. Yeah. So I think that's a good options lah.
All
Mm.
right. Okay.
Okay.
Next question is, you mentioned multiple times that you have a very busy work schedule, especially being in the being in a medical field, and also working for the government. So it's not easy for you to get any annual leave. So how do you actually ensure that you have quality time with your family despite having a very busy work schedule?
That's quite hard to explain or answer as well because being if you're working mother, you have a toddler and also a baby, so you have a sleep deprivation, you
Mm.
lacking of sleep and you are lacking of rest. So it will affect your work as well, and your work is nothing can be because of the responsibility in the government setting, the government hospital or government clinics. is usually cater a lot of patients, so you are quite physically exhausted in the morning,
Mm.
and during the night, to be honest, it will be like exhausted in the night as well. So usually I sleep early, and sometimes I let them play all by themselves. But if you're busy working mother, that's something that very lacking of you having the good quality time with your kids. But I think once a while, sitting with them, watching TVs with them, especially like once in a week, like movie time, movie
Mm.
night, sometimes eating outside together with your families. That can help a bit on getting more time with your kids lah. But I really admire those with housewife, or probably that can have a lot of times with their children, right?
Mm.
Mm.
Understandable. It's hard, but we can try. I think that's a
You
great
can
idea. Once a week having movie time. It's may not look like much, but for kids, it's actually quite a core memory. It can be a core
y-
memory as well. So
yep.
next one.
I think it's a good time actually to have a movie time,
So
at
because
least.
you don't use a lot of energy, and but at the same time you can spend time with your family.
And eventually
Or
I'll sleep through all throughout the movie.
it's okay. At least you're there. All right. So
Yeah.
the next one is how do you stay involved in your child's learning and development while working full time?
Okay, development. I think the most important thing is you have to be with your kids. You have to be with your kids, and you have to ask them, how's your day, something like that. What about you? Do what's you're doing at school today? Oh, but you're telling me about the toddlers, right?
Yeah, but that can
My
actually work
toddlers.
as well. Just ask. It
Um,
helps with communication
yes, I
skills.
think communication. I think now, if you, because okay, Marsha knows me that I have two sets of kids. One set of kids is actually going to the teenagers, and one set of kids is like the toddlers and the baby. So I think the toddlers and the baby are easier to cater because you can just be with them, especially the baby. You just play with them. You just give them food in the afternoon. Sorry, in the evening or at night. Breastfeeding is one of it. Spending times together, and also a bit apa tu, storytelling with the toddlers is also is helpful. So I think that is the quality time with them lah. But nowadays, to be honest, when you are, I don't know, maybe most of the parents are busy and they are exhausted in the night, as I said before. So somehow they are playing by themselves, and they take the phone and they take the game, and they just do apa, they just look at the YouTube, watch the YouTubes and so on. So that's not a good example actually. But I think that's something that needs to be uh, parents has to take care of that lah, not to give them so much time,
Yeah.
luxury time for themselves. Mm.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next one. I think this is something that a lot of parents uh struggle with, especially dual working. How do you manage to attend important events or activities in your children's life while balancing work commitments? So, for example, if they have a parent-teacher meeting in school during the weekdays, or they have graduation, or they have any some sort of performances in school, that because these are usually held during the weekdays. So how do you uh, balance your work schedule while trying to attend these important events?
That's the okay. If the nursery tell you the earlier date so that we can block the date, we can have an appointment before that. So I think that much more better because I can block my schedule at clinic, then I can attend it with, I mean, not to feel guilty about it. but it happens when the nursery inform the parents quite late, so that's the problem where I cannot attend it. But usually I will try as best as I could, try to reschedule my clinic's appointment, so that I can be free at that day. Then I can attend the, especially the important events like the graduation events is very important. Parent teacher meetings is very important. Uh, but if the meeting can be scheduled later, then I will ask the school to reschedule for me if possible. But otherwise, I try to make it as much as I could lah.
All
Mm.
right. Okay, thank you. So next one is, how do you set boundaries between work and family time to ensure it's a healthy work-life balance? Because a lot of job professions out there, sometimes parents are still working after working hours. Like if the working hours is only until 5, sometimes at night they're still on the laptop working, doing overtime. So how do you set your boundaries to ensure it's a healthy balance between your work life and your family life?
Okay. I think that's very important being as a parents, working parents. You need to, as a parents, you need yourself to have a time management, what we call that. The good thing of me is that we are a government servants, so the government servant is actually we work from 8 to 5, and there's no one at the clinic will be staying more than 5:05 every day. So meaning after 5 o'clock we just straight away punch out, then we straight away go home. That's one thing that I think very much good being as a government servant compared to the swasta
Private.
swasta private,
Private
yes,
sector, yeah.
private sector, yes, because private sector, just like what my sister always have to carry on the laptops all the time, and they don't really work during the office hour. They work more than that because they have to make sure the work's done. So that's one thing that I think is my lavish time of having a government servant. However, being as me myself as a specialist, I being involved with the society as well. So it takes a lot of my time at night doing extra from my working hours, but it's not working per se, but it's within our fraternity to have a
I see.
society, just to work as much as we have to work as, well, how do I say that? It's just like the same thing that I have to do as my government work, but there are one of the extra curricular that I did before. So,
I see.
and because of that, my spouse will help me out during that time. It takes about like every 2 weeks, I have a meeting at night from 8 to 11 p.m. at
I
night.
see.
So that's one thing that I think, if you have a good spouse, if you really have apa, complementary spouse, then it will be easy for you to work. But otherwise, if you don't have a spouse that help you a lot, then you cannot do that. But since I off from my society work from this year, so I have plenty of time to focus onto my child. So I think I have the work balance, the working and the family balance. And one of my good consultant has told me before, one of the, dia punya apa istilah dia, we call it petua lah, like you have to think of 40% of your work, 40% of your family, and then another 20% of your time. So you cannot, if let's say your family needs you the most, and you have to reduce your work, and then you have to give more for your family.
I
But when your
see.
family is okay, then you can put more on your work, like 50% of your work, maybe 30% of your family. So that's where you can have the balance and
So
everything.
it depends more on the situation. If the situation calls for
Yes,
your family, you prioritize your family. But if they're doing well, then you can put that extra time to your work. I see.
yes, exactly,
All right.
exactly.
So we're now on our final question. So, as a dual working parent, what tips or advice do you have to give other working parents, maybe new parents or someone who is struggling to balance their work and family life? So, what what tips or advice would you give, especially for those who have toddlers and babies at home?
I think both of you has to work each other, help each other. Actually, being 15 years marriage is not. I think it's not easy because we have, as I said before, we have two sets of kids. One is teenagers and one is toddlers. And actually, the toddlers and the babies need your time a lot for them to grow and for them to get a healthy family. So, working each other, balancing whenever, because both of you are working, so meaning that it's not only the man that goes out, but also the mother also goes out. Boleh, sekejap lagi. So, so if you have a mutual understanding, it will be easy for you because both of you know that whenever one needs help, one will help. Something like that. So I think if I have one of my colleagues that having the spouse is not helping at all, so I can see that the stress from her face is so much unbearable. Of course, when you're having a toddler or you're having a baby, you are unable to sleep. They need attention most of your time, so you have to play at least sometimes with them. So I think, and you as a mother, you need to have your household chores as well. So I think balance that and just be whatever that helps. Don't need to be so much being ideal parents, because all of us are considered as a good parents. You have to make sure that you are considered as a good parents within your limits. Something like that.
All right, and with that, you have actually answered all of my questions. So that is all for our interview sessions. Again, I would like to give a really big thank you for agreeing to be interviewed. And again, I would like to clarify that this recording will be shown in class during presentation. However, I will be blurring out your face, and if you prefer, I will be using a fake name as well. All right.
Adalah okay je. I think because I know I'm your aunties, and it's okay je. No need to fake the name.
All
Boleh je.
right. Okay, and with
Just
that,
for
we
the
are
learning session.
done with the interview
Alright.
session.